You know that feeling when your phone vibrates, you see a notification from your banking app, and somehow you already know the bad news before you even tap it? Opening the app feels like replaying a horror movie you have already watched. You check your account, and the balance says $17.42. Then, on that exact same day, life decides to throw 3 more problems at you. Your car suddenly starts making a sound you have never heard before. Your child's school sends an email about a fee nobody warned you about. Or your manager messages you, "Hey, do you have a minute to talk?" And your stomach immediately drops. You sit there thinking, I am one completely ordinary Tuesday away from a financial disaster. If that sounds familiar, if you are constantly hoping the car does not break, the refrigerator keeps working, and nobody gets sick because you simply cannot afford another problem, this video is for you. Over the next few minutes, I am going to show you how to build an emergency fund in just 60 days. And yes, this plan is for you even if you feel completely broke right now. Maybe you are already thinking, seriously? I can barely survive the month. What emergency fund are you talking about? Here is what most people get backward. They believe an emergency fund is something you build after your finances are finally under control. I believe the opposite is true. You build an emergency fund so that you can finally begin getting your finances under control. My name is Vincent, and I probably spend far too much time thinking about emergency savings, budgeting, and how ordinary people can create a little financial breathing room. If saving money has always felt difficult for you, subscribe to the channel. And if this video gives you something useful, tap the like button. It helps more people find practical financial advice like this. Before we get into the actual 60-day plan, we need to talk about something uncomfortable. A lot of people say, I cannot save money until I earn more. And sometimes that is absolutely true. If every dollar is going toward rent, groceries, medicine, and transportation, there is no secret budgeting trick that can magically change the math. You cannot cut an expense that does not exist. But here's the part many people overlook. Even when you technically have the ability to save a little money, your own brain may resist it. That does not mean you are lazy. It does not mean you are irresponsible. And it certainly does not mean you are bad with money. Your brain is designed to help you survive today. It is not naturally focused on creating stability 6 months from now. When you live paycheck to paycheck, your mind often enters what psychologists call scarcity mode. In scarcity mode, 3 things usually happen. First, you focus almost entirely on the problem directly in front of you. Second, you underestimate or ignore risks that may appear later. Third, stress pushes you towards small comfort purchases that make the current moment feel slightly easier. That is why telling someone to just save 20% of every paycheck is rarely useful. It is like watching someone struggle in deep water and saying, "Have you considered swimming better?" Today, we are going to use a different approach. We are going to build a 60-day emergency fund using 2 tools: simple math and practical psychology. Before we start, let me share a few numbers that show why this matters and why you are not alone. According to Bankrate, roughly 1 in 4 Americans, or about 24%, have no emergency savings at all. Federal Reserve survey data showed that in 2024, only 55% of adults reported having enough emergency savings to cover 3 months of expenses. And in a 2024 survey from the American Psychological Association, 64% of adults identified money as one of their biggest personal sources of stress. So, if money makes you anxious, congratulations, you are extremely normal. Here is the good news. You do not need a massive, perfect emergency fund before you begin feeling relief. Having $10,000 set aside would obviously be wonderful, but even a small buffer of $300, $600, or $1,000 can completely change the way you handle everyday problems. That is because a small emergency fund can stop what I call the financial domino effect. It usually starts with one unexpected expense. Then, that bill causes an overdraft. The overdraft creates a fee. Another payment becomes late. That creates another fee. Then the expense goes onto a credit card. Now you are paying interest. Maybe you borrow money from a friend or family member. Stress increases, and suddenly you are making important financial decisions while panicking. One small problem creates 5 new problems. An emergency fund interrupts that chain reaction. Think of it as a shock absorber for your financial life. So, what exactly are we trying to accomplish in 60 days? Our starting goal is $600. Why $600? Because $600 is enough to deal with many of the problems that appear on a random Tuesday. It could cover a replacement tire, a smaller medical bill, an unusually high utility payment, a basic car repair, or another unexpected expense that would otherwise end up on a credit card. At the same time, $600 is still small enough to feel achievable, even when you are beginning with almost nothing. If you are able to save $1,000 or more during these 60 days, that is fantastic. But we are not going to make perfection the requirement for getting started. Our first target is simply $600. $600 divided by 60 days is $10 per day. That is the basic math. Now you may be thinking, I do not have an extra $10 every day. After I pay my bills, there is barely anything left. That is completely fair. We are not going to find $10 per day by making you miserable. We are going to create a system that produces that money through several smaller moves. We will reduce financial leaks. We will create a small amount of extra income. We will place barriers between you and impulsive purchases. And we will automate your progress so that you are not depending on motivation every morning. This is where the plan becomes more powerful. An emergency fund is not only a pile of money, it is also a machine for changing your behavior. The framework has 4 parts: separate, stabilize, squeeze, supplement. We will treat the next 60 days like a focused financial sprint. Let us go through it step by step. Day 1 is not about saving a huge amount of money. Day 1 is about stopping yourself from saving money in the same place where you spend it. If your emergency savings are sitting inside your regular checking account, they are not truly emergency savings. They are available spending money. They are takeout money. They are, I had a difficult day money. They are money your brain can see and immediately justify using. Visible money feels available. Easy to reach money feels spendable. That is why you need separation and a little bit of friction. Here is what to do today. Open a separate savings account. If you cannot do that, use a second financial account or a separate digital wallet, whatever gives you distance from your everyday spending. Then rename it. Call it Do Not Touch Emergency Fund. Use capital letters if you need to. If your bank allows you to hide the account from the main dashboard, hide it. That may sound ridiculous, but it works. You are not trying to prove that you have unlimited self-control. You are designing an environment that makes the right choice easier. This is one of the most important lessons in personal finance. Willpower is unreliable. Your environment is much more powerful. Next, automate an amount that feels almost too small to matter. If you can transfer $5 per day, start with $5. If you can only manage $3 per day, start with $3. If $25 per week works better for your schedule, transfer $25 per week. The first goal is not to choose a perfect number. The first goal is to create a habit that continues without requiring another decision from you. Because if your plan is, I will save whatever remains at the end of the month, you already know what usually happens. There is nothing left. Schedule the transfer immediately after payday, not 3 days later, Not when you remember, not when you feel motivated. Schedule it for the moment your paycheck arrives, before that money gets absorbed into the rest of your life. Now we move to the first major milestone, the first $100. Your brain needs evidence that the plan is working. It needs to see movement. It needs a small victory. Here are some of the fastest and most realistic ways to reach $100 during the first week. First, cancel one thing you forgot you were paying for. Open your bank or credit card statements and look carefully. Find subscriptions, app charges, memberships, premium plans, old free trials, or services you barely use. You do not have to cancel everything. Just find one. Even a $10 monthly subscription matters. It is not only about saving $10. It is about developing the habit of refusing to pay for things that are no longer improving your life. Second, use the 48-hour pause rule. For the next 60 days, every non-essential purchase must wait 48 hours. You are not banning the purchase forever. You are simply delaying it for 2 days. That pause interrupts the impulse cycle. Because despite what social media may tell you, the biggest enemy of saving is usually not one cup of coffee. It is automatic, emotional, unexamined spending. Third, sell one item this weekend. You may be thinking, selling my own stuff does not count as saving. Yes, selling unused items absolutely counts. The goal is not to protect your ego, it is to protect your finances. Look around your home for something you no longer use: old electronics, clothes, exercise equipment, or a small appliance. Choose one item, list it this weekend, and send every dollar from the sale directly into your emergency fund. One successful sale could bring in anywhere from $40 to $120. By week 2, it is time to examine your spending. Most people do not have one huge budgeting problem. They have many small financial leaks that are easy to ignore. We justify them by saying, "I deserve this," "I have been stressed," or "it is only $12." So review your spending from the last 14 days and sort every purchase into 3 simple categories: must, maybe, and mess. Must includes rent, utilities, groceries, medicine, and necessary transportation. Maybe includes things you enjoy but could reduce temporarily. Mess includes impulse purchases, convenience spending, forgotten charges, and anything that makes you wonder why you bought it. Your emergency fund should come mainly from the maybe and mess categories, not from skipping food or putting your health at risk. For example, cutting $24 of weekly takeout, $12 of convenience store purchases, and $15 of random online shopping frees up $51 per week. Over 8 weeks, that becomes $408, most of the way toward your $600 goal. Food is another major spending leak, not because people are irresponsible, but because expensive decisions usually happen when they are tired and hungry. For the next 60 days, choose several cheap, simple meals you can repeat without thinking. The exact meals do not matter, but do not remove every enjoyable thing from your life. Allow yourself one planned treat each week. A plan that feels like punishment will eventually fail. Extreme restriction often leads to rebound spending. There is also a limit to how much you can cut, so the next step is to temporarily increase your income. You do not need to build a business or create passive income overnight. Start with the fastest, realistic option available to you. If your employer offers overtime, extra shifts, or weekend hours, consider taking them during this 60-day sprint. 4 extra hours per week at $15 per hour can produce about $240 over 4 weeks before taxes. Another option is one weekend money mission. Choose something that pays quickly. Delivery work, freelancing, cleaning, tutoring, pet sitting, yard work, or helping someone move. Set a simple target of earning $150 during one weekend. Yes, it may be tiring, but this is a temporary sprint, not your permanent lifestyle. You can also negotiate one monthly bill. Call your internet provider, phone company, or insurer and ask whether they have a cheaper plan, removable fees, or a current promotion. Saving only $20 per month gives you another $40 during the challenge, and the savings continue afterward. Now, saving the money is only half the job. You also need rules that prevent you from spending it when your emotions change. The first rule is to clearly define an emergency. An emergency is something that threatens your health, housing, ability to earn income, necessary transportation, or basic utilities. A medical expense may qualify. A necessary car repair may qualify. Preventing your electricity from being disconnected may qualify. A sale, vacation, boring weekend, or difficult day does not qualify. Write your emergency definition in your phone before you need it. The second rule is simple. If you use the fund, replace the money first. If a real emergency costs $120, rebuilding that $120 becomes your next financial goal. This prevents the fund from slowly disappearing. That is the real purpose of an emergency fund. You are not trying to become rich in 60 days. You are trying to become more difficult to panic. Many people never begin because they keep waiting until they feel ready. They wait for a larger paycheck, an easier month, or a time when saving no longer feels uncomfortable. But life does not wait. Cars break, bills arrive, jobs change, and medical expenses appear without asking whether you are ready. An emergency fund is not a luxury. It is basic financial protection, like wearing a seatbelt. You do not wait for an accident to begin before deciding to put one on. So here is your move today. Open a separate savings account and set the smallest automatic transfer you can realistically maintain. Then choose one quick action that can move you toward your first $100. Cancel one unused subscription. Sell one item you no longer need. Wait 48 hours before an unnecessary purchase. Work one extra shift. Or call and negotiate one monthly bill. You do not need to do everything today. Choose one action and begin. Subscribe for more practical money strategies that are simple, realistic, and actually possible to use.